Good afternoon. It is Tuesday. Got Justin Wells, got Coach Dub. I'm Joe Cook. That means it is time for recruiting intel. Thank you for joining. If you're here, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, head to InsideTexas.com. Sign up. You can get 50% off annual memberships as we go through the rest of the season, as we talk about recruiting. And as 2026 kind of starts to come into focus, Justin, we talked a lot about some of the big 2025 visitors that were there on Saturday. Of course, Justice Terry. And what we're doing, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new On3 rankings. So if you have questions about 2025, guys, go ahead and throw them in the comments. We're going to get to them. What we did want to do is go over some of the 2026 rankings that On3 just put out, including Texas commits place in the new On 300. But to the extent about the Georgia game, that was an opportunity to invite the 2026s they really want to get to know more about to that game, because they didn't have this 200-person visitor list like we've seen some schools hold for big games. They kept it. It was big, but it wasn't just a frenzy there. They had guys they knew who were coming in and guys they want to know more info about there on the sidelines and there on the 40 acres.
They wanted priorities.
Yeah.
They had a hot ticket and they wanted to make sure they maximize that opportunity. And even in a loss, a lot of fans don't understand, the biggest recruiting weekend, how does it affect them when they lose? Not much. Doesn't really affect them at all. Often we've seen, and Charlie can tell you this, often we've seen players when they do say a poor performance by the host team, they see opportunity. They see a chance to maybe go in and make a difference. Look, the Texas fans did it big with that environment, with that atmosphere, with everything around it. But this was an opportunity for Texas to get the best of the best. These, like we talked about last week, out of 60, 65, almost 70 visitors, 50, 55 had offers, Texas offers, maybe even a little bit more. That's rare. But that's what you're recruiting for. 2025 is virtually over, guys. They're still talking to a handful of guys that they're going to try to finish up the cycle with, likely a top 5 finish. This was for 2026. We just posted a story at InsideTexas.com about some more recruiting intel strictly from the 2026s. Amari Latimer, KJ Edwards, DeQuivis Beck. That was the focus, is getting those best of the best there. Dia Bell, Caden Finley. You wanted to get in front of those guys. Isaiah Williams, big safety out of Fort Bend Marshall. 2025s know kind of what they're looking at. This was an event for the 2026s in Texas, even though in a loss, they did really well with these guys.
They get to show them the atmosphere. They get to do all that. And Charlie, you were able to talk to, I'm going to do a little spoiler real quick. The number one player in Texas in the 2026 On 300 is John Turntine. And we put a picture on the story that you wrote that really shows that he is not just a big kid anymore. Like, he's growing into an offensive tackle. But he was one of the guys who you were able to talk to and who came away from the experience thinking very, very highly of Texas.
Yeah, definitely. He saw opportunity, like Justin just said. He sees the vision of what Texas is building. And for a kid to talk with that much maturity and say, you know what? Yeah, Georgia's, they look good. Kirby Smart always has a good team. But to say, I see what Texas is building. I see where Texas is trying to get to. And I can see myself playing here. That is huge, right? And to name Texas as, the top school in his recruitment, it says a lot. But not just him, his dad too. His dad even took the time out to post us a tweet like, yo, I enjoyed my time at Texas. And you normally don't see him get involved that much, but he enjoyed himself as well. So Texas did a great job. And with the number one player in the 2026 class, man, the sky is the limit what 2026 may be.
Exactly. And as we learned very well on Saturday night, it's not just about one, it's not just about two, it's not just about 3 recruiting classes. It's about recruiting class after recruiting class after recruiting class.
And Joe, just to double down on what Coach Williams said, I love what Javian Osborne, one of the top running backs in the nation, said after the game. He told his dad on one of the run plays, man, Dad, if I got that ball, I'm popping it. I'm popping it to the outside and I'm gone. They see opportunity. especially the alphas. They see a
Mhm.
chance. Alpha males don't get scared off by a scoreboard.
Mhm.
They see a bigger picture. It's a more of a macro level. And I think that's exactly what Turntine said, stuff that Dia Bell said, stuff that Caden Finley and Javian Osborne and KJ Edwards. That's exactly what you want from these guys, even in a loss at home.
It just kind of clicked with me. Like, they see results, obviously. Wins and losses are important. Just ask Florida State. But they see trends more
Right.
so than they see anything else. And they see guys, having success at certain positions. And they see opportunity, like you just mentioned, at certain positions. As our buddy UT Parking says, looks like a prize stallion ready to storm the track like Secretariat. We'll see if he breaks a 20 length lead over Sham. But we got a long way to go for that
Fabian
one.
and his dad had a good time. Maurice Osborne, his father, thank you so much for catching up with me on Saturday night. They had a really good time. Tashard Choice and those guys have done a great job. And even in a defeat, Texas recruiting still keeps chugging along, guys. This train doesn't stop because of an L in the middle of the road.
Never thought I would give a Sham reference on a
I did not either. You pulled that one out pretty strong. And now that Woj is retired, I think Shams is the guy.
Different eras, but we'll go on to let's talk about the 2026 updated on 300. Texas has 3 commits in the 2026 class. I think they have the number 3 class as a result. 3 guys within the top 130, and that is headlined by the crown jewel, the number 1 guy in the class, Dia Bell. And I can get it that big. Fort Lauderdale, American Heritage. Him, Raja, his little brother, Tia. He
basketball player. His little brother is a baller in basketball.
They were in town this week, and Dia is the number 6 overall prospect in the updated rankings. For On 3, they slowly dole out 5-star billing. So right now they only have 5 stars. You'll look right here. Let's go through it real quick. Like Zion Ely, Jackson Cantwell. I mean, those are 2 can't miss guys. Jared Curtis, the only quarterback ahead of him. Chris Henry, who Justin we know very well. Yeah. And then Emmanuel Iheanacho, who Texas has offered. I don't think they're in it.
They don't talk very much, but he's very curious about the Horns.
Right. And then Blaine Bradford, who was interested in Texas, but does not seem to be anymore.
He got Texas. He just wants to play at LSU.
Right. Exactly. Baton Rouge Catholic. All that's to say, Dia Bell is the number 6 overall prospect in On3's rankings. When they start slowly doling out more 5-star billing, Dia Bell is up next. And I like this. From an arm talent perspective, Dia Bell is as good as anyone in the 2026 cycle. Definition of a natural thrower, ability to manipulate the football and throw consistently catchable footballs from multiple arm angles is a treat to watch. He can dice up defenses on Friday evenings and make special throws. Someone that has a ton of upside, especially as he develops and fills out his frame down the line. I have to assume that was either from Charles Power or maybe from our guy Cody Belair. But Charlie, I'm going to go to you. Anything to disagree with? Anything to add on that one?
No. One thing I probably add is he just reminds me of CJ Stroud, and he may fill out about like CJ, and he looks like him, he throws like him, and he can take off and run too, right? Not that he's looking to run every play, but if he does, he can go to the house too. So he just reminds me of as a true pro quarterback who can do it all and touch every blade of grass on the field when he throws it, man.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't have my Texans cap near me.
I got nothing else, but I'll take it.
I'm big.
Besides Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud might be the best young quarterback in the NFL.
And I'm kind of curious. This has kind of come to a point a little bit in the past couple days. But when you look at Arch, you look at Trey Owens, KJ Lacey, maybe not as much, but Dia Bell for sure. We know Sark likes pocket passers, but there's a lot more mobility we feel like that we've seen in some of these other quarterback targets that they've recruited. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's very fair, and I think.
Uh,
I mean,
They're
It's
not
yes
dual
and no.
threats.
That's not the
They're
strength
not
they
dual-
look for.
they're
right?
not dual threats, but
Right.
they are guys with the ability to move in the pocket and scatter and create outside of the pocket if ideal situations don't present themselves.
True.
And well, I think that was
That was
part
the
of
AI
reason.
version.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair. Like, does Sark want to manipulate defenses from the pocket first and foremost? Yes.
Mhm.
But will he take yards on the ground if they're there?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I think
Before
he
we
likes a guy like a Bryce Young, not a dual threat, but when you got to scoot for 6 or 7 yards on third down, you get those yards.
Yeah.
we'll keep going with the other guys in the 2026 class who are in the rankings. But before we do that, got to give some love to our sponsor, and that is Click. I'm trying. It wants to show up. Hadn't yet. I'll talk about it anyway. That is Game Time, the ticket app that you need to get. If you were looking for a Georgia ticket, you could have found that on Game Time. You could have seen your view and the all-in price with fees. You also could have seen the same for F1. Could have checked out all the different places. You could have watched all the different turns of the U.S. Grand Prix. If you go to Game Time, it's app or gametime.co, use the promo code ON3. You can download it, get $20 off if you use the promo code ON3. And I know there are probably going to be a lot of Texas fans traveling to Nashville, Austin to Nashville, Dallas to Nashville, Houston to Nashville. Southwest flights are pretty good to that city for a lot of different reasons. Football fans know that, especially. You can go there, you can try to find a way in a first bait stadium, and you can get it at a great price with the Game Time app. And of course, for games like Florida, Kentucky, if you want to pay a big premium and go to Texas A&M, use a Game Time app. You can see where the view will be from your seats. You can get the all-in price. It is the best place to get tickets. Terms apply. Again, use ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. As we all know, what time is it? It's game time. Wanted to go through the other two commits in Texas 2026 class. Out of state, Zealous Hicks. He was the number 23 overall prospect in On3's rankings. Dropped to 65. Anything to see there? Any big thoughts on that?
I think his tape is actually better this year than it was last year. So I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from. We love Charles Power and Cody Belair, and they do the best job in our industry in breaking these guys down. But Hicks, that wingspan, I'm not questioning anything, man. That kid goes hard. I thought his senior tape looked great. So I was a little surprised by that one, but there's always changes, fluctuations in these things, and I'm not sure where that one's coming from.
And then we go in-state real quick. Chris Stewart, he's number 13 in-state. Looks like a good skill position class, at least on offense.
Yes, actually,
in 2026. Seemed pretty fair. Number 13 in-state. Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
I see 3 receivers. He's first of all, Jalen Lott's not a receiver. So that should be moved. He's a defensive back.
Yep.
So we missed that one. I'll take the blame for that since it's a family event. We missed that one. Chris Stewart should be where Jalen Lott's at. Davian Gross, I like that he's now at wide receiver. He had been labeled as a running back for a long time.
Yes.
They just changed that.
They just changed it. I was actually talking to Javian Osborne's dad the other night about some of the area running backs, and he told me, he goes, Justin, I love Davian Gross, but that kid is a receiver / athlete. Yeah. He's not so much a running back. And man, Mr. Osborne, you were right. I do like Chase Campbell. I really like some of these other guys, but Chris Stewart and Jalen Lott, you need to flip. Now, if Jalen Lott's a DB, he's probably number 6. He's probably number 7. He's probably number 8. He's not a receiver.
Right.
So, but Chris Stewart, it's really, really top heavy with skill guys the in-state this cycle. And we're going to see more and more guys pop up. We're going to see more offensive linemen, more defensive linemen. But early on, I think it's pretty good. I'll say one thing. Keyshawn Henderson should be way up.
Man.
10 in state. Are you kidding me? That might be the best athlete in the state. Like, that is a ball player. I don't care if he's committed to Houston. That dude could be committed to 30 other major schools. He should be up. And on what planet is Jonathan Hatton better than KJ Edwards and Javian Osborne? Not Earth.
Charlie, anything on the top 14 right here?
Honestly, I kind of agree with the Keyshawn Henderson. After seeing him at the camp in Houston, Under Armour camp, I was like, oh, this kid he kind of special, man. And so I agree with that. I'm surprised to see. I don't know. I mean, Ball's he's taken off this year. I know he's at number 8, but do you have him over, would you put him over KJ? I saw him last Friday.
There's no difference.
And I saw him like be used in multiple ways. I was like, oh my gosh, Ball is just.
He ran a 10.5 at almost 200 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, that kid's special.
This is a cycle where you're spoiled with running backs. You can throw 5 guys out there and have 5 great running backs. And so you're really just sort of sorting those guys. And that's the fun part of doing these lists. It's kind of trying to figure that out. But let me tell you something. Tre'Davious Ball is as good as KJ Edwards. He's right there with Javian Osborne. He's definitely better than Jonathan Hatton. Like Tre'Davious, I actually thought Ball would go up. Have you seen him this year?
Yeah.
Texas High is one of the best teams in the state because of this kid.
Yeah, kid's amazing, man.
Oh man, and then
we through 8-0, 7-0, killing people.
Yeah. We got this from Tub in Texas. We went over Turntine a little bit earlier, and of course, head to Inside Texas. Charlie posted something yesterday about Turntine and his experience over in Austin during the course of the weekend. But I mean, you look at him, you look at his play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have nothing to argue with on looking at John Turntine having the number 1 spot by his name.
No.
And then you go down the rest of this list. John Turntine, Texas, very much on him.
Yeah.
Jabarian Carlton. I think Chad Simmons had something on Inside Texas today. If you head to the message board on him, the edge from Temple. Hatton, obviously Oklahoma commit. Edwards, Osborne, Lott. They're talking to all of them. They're way more interested in Edwards and Osborne, correct?
No,
right?
No. You talking about Texas?
Yes.
Okay, Texas, I mean, they're all kind of the same interest. Osborne's number 1 on the board, though. Javian Osborne is number 1, and then Edwards, Ball, Latimer, all those other guys are kind of bunched in. Yeah.
And then, Gross, I haven't heard too much about him.
He's fun with the ball. He is fun.
He is.
Dejon Moore seems like an interior offensive lineman all the way.
Probably.
And then Henderson.
I'm not as big with him.
Henderson told Houston told Henderson they could play quarterback there. And that's a big part of his recruitment. So, I mean, there are a lot of different guys in this top 10, in this top 14. You can see right here. I mean, even Caden Finley, Jermichael's son, like they're on him.
That's a priority target.
As I scroll down, go to 15 through 25.
Kosiak Paula should be higher, guys. He is a lot better than that 17 ranking. And being 17 is not a bad thing by any stretch. It's pretty impressive if you're top 17 in the state of Texas. Kosiak Paula should be higher.
The one that the thing that stands out to me, they had Zayden Krempin, who, Charlie, you'll have some stuff on him on Inside Texas later today. Do you see him as an interior guy?
He continues to grow. He can play tackle. I mean, he's getting tall. He's getting bigger and bigger. But he could slide inside and play guard. He can move. He's very athletic, man. And
I thought he was a tackle.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
He is him and I think Bryce is on the right side. He plays left tackle, so he plays tackle, but he got some flexibility to do both, honestly.
Yeah, if you can get a guy that can do both, I think that's ideal. But yeah, Krempin to me would be a tackle prospect. And Texas needs at least 3 offensive tackles in this 2026 cycle. You're talking about John Turntine. You're talking about Felix Ojo. You're talking about Maximus Wright. Like those are all legit tackles. They got to get 3 of them at least.
I'm trying to look through some of these names. I do like this fit. Rylan Morris from Honey Grove to Baylor. I think that's a great fit. I think that's someone.
Good kid.
Remember how Rondale Moore was way better than his size, as odd as that sounds? Rylan Morris kind of has that similar vibe to me. like someone who he's going to be the best player on any high school field that he steps on, despite
Right.
being 5'8" and 170.
And I think what's Honey go 3A, Charlie?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're growing. They're
They are
growing.
growing.
They're
They're moving up north.
You know who I think is underrated on this list? That guy right
Beck.
there, Tank King.
I love that kid. He can
I
ball.
like him and his brother.
Yeah.
To that point, that illustrates that the linebacker class in Texas is pretty darn strong at this point.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. In this article, I went to the top 25 in Texas, but I think there are close to 50 players from the state of Texas in the on 300 at this juncture, which tells you that
That's
there
one
are
in every 6 prospects.
exactly like there are a lot of
Math.
quicker math than I could have done. That's for sure. But that's all to say. The 2026 class in Texas, there are up classes, there are down classes. This one looks good. Texas went elsewhere for quarterback, but looks like they're going to be able to find.
Yeah, Joe, let's break some news real quick. That Jamian Winfield kid,
the defensive lineman.
The defensive lineman out of Richardson, Texas, just reached out a couple days ago. He has been getting a handful of offers in the last month. I think LSU hit him up last week, Miami the week before. Texas reached out recently, so that's going to be a new kid. Be looking for something in the next day or two on Winfield at InsideTexas.com. Texas is beating the road for these D linemen in state this year.
Say the first part of that again, because you cut out on us when you just started.
Jamian Winfield. He was number, I think, 16 on the list. He's a defensive lineman out of Richardson. Yeah, and so seeing his name on there reminded me of it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's the guy that my source was telling me about for the D-line in 2026 that he likes a lot. That guy. So Texas is reaching out for that one. I think that kid could be really good.
Going to go through some of
We got a couple good questions. We got 3 or 4 real good questions, but with Tubin, Texas, and the turn time getting bonged to Texas today, I think that was yesterday.
Yesterday.
I think that happened yesterday. And we had that at InsideTexas.com. I went ahead and added my RPM. Think I gave Charlie Williams full credit. I don't even know if Charlie saw that on the site because Charlie doesn't follow every time I tag him. But I gave Charlie 100% credit because we had turn time to Texas June 4th.
Yeah, we did.
And it was
because of Charlie Williams.
Right there.
I gave him 100% of the credit. But yes, Tubin, you're right. Turn time was Fong to Texas yesterday by Steve. I actually caught up with Will Fong earlier today, and he feels good about that pick, and we do too.
Yeah.
Going through some more. How much of a chance do we have with Dorian Brew? That's an interesting one, but guess what, guys? See that guy on the left in the white hoodie? We got to give some credit to our guy, Will Gallagher, was spraying pictures, and we grabbed that one on Saturday. So Dorian Brew did make it in to Austin on Saturday. Trying to figure out more from that one, but we do know that he was there.
Right. I talked to somebody at the Oregon site. What's it called? The duck scoop?
Scoop duck.
Scoops of duck. We've talked to them over there. Max Torres does an amazing job. Justin Hawkins does a good job up there. I caught up with him on that one because he's an Oregon commit. But they're watching that one closely, and that's a hard read. You got to come to Inside Texas. Eric Noleen's had some really good stuff on Brew in the past. It's just a hard read right now, but the fact that he showed up, I think, is bonus points for Texas. Let's kind of see how they maneuver it. They need another corner in this class, guys.
Will Gallagher, if you're watching, little did you know you covered recruiting.
He's the man.
This
is a Joe Cook recruiting question.
Yeah,
I was about to say, this reminds me to get on this one. Did Brady Edmonds come to the game? I'll double check his socials because he usually posts stuff whenever he makes.
I didn't see anything,
but
I didn't see anything from Peyton Houston either. They were supposed to have the 2 offered quarterbacks from 2027 on campus, and I didn't catch either one.
That functions as a reminder for me to check up with him because he made his way to he made it to a spring practice and a camp, if I remember correctly.
He got offered after the camp, and
right.
I can't remember if he's been back since. I don't think he has.
He said back in June he planned to come to a game.
Right.
So if he was going to pick one, that was the
I
one.
almost feel like he's been to one this year already, but I know that's probably not true. But just Texas and Edmonds are whoever for living rent free. Texas and Edmonds. Joe's been all over that one. Texas is in a great spot. That's an early identifier for Sark, and I do not question him when it comes to the signal callers.
Exactly. Charlie, I'm going to send this one from our guy UT Parking. According to Felix Ojo is the top offensive lineman in the 2026 class. Was he there this weekend? Remind me. Yeah. And then just what are your thoughts on what Ojo provides on the field?
Yeah, he was there, and he's supposed to feel that way. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to feel any other way. He's a confident kid, confident in his abilities. Man, just getting to see him play. I want to say, was it 3 weeks ago now? I saw him play.
You saw him 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, big athletic kid who can move, man. Honestly, like he looked like a guard, but he can move like a guard, but he plays tackle. Like I'm not, Justin, don't get me. I'm not calling him Trent Williams, but he can move and he can pull and run and knock the crap out of people. Ojo's supposed to feel that way. And I don't blame him. I think he's a guy that when he gets into a weight program, he's going to fill out and he's going to look like a Greek god, man, because he's just built.
Charlie makes a great point there. We had something on the board at Inside Texas I thought was fascinating the other day. We were showing pictures of Felix Ojo and John Turntine, and we had some comments. Those guys don't look like offensive linemen. Why aren't they bigger? Why? No. Okay, for fans, you want your future offensive tackles to look just like they do. Yeah. You don't want your 16-year-old 2026 offensive tackle to be 335 pounds. You don't want that. You want your 20-year-old redshirt sophomore offensive tackle to be 335 pounds, maybe in an ideal situation. These guys are the most moldable clay tackles I've seen in years in state. Yeah. Kelvin Banks had a big trunk with him already. Some of those other Dewberry already had that big base with him. Turntine is the moldable clay that you see turns into a Jonathan Ogden. You see that turns into that just super, super athletic offensive tackle type deal. And that's why the tackle class in Texas is so good. Maximus Wright's the exact same way, 280 pounds. That's at 6'7". That's exactly the size you want them at. That you want. Flood wants large humans. Let's wait till they get to campus. Yeah. You don't want to get them at 380 and then have to get them back down to 340. You'd rather get them at 280, build them up to 320, 330.
You can find the right split, and the tank is always there. It's there in that north end zone. They feed you. They get you what you're looking for. They will make sure that if you're 300, you get to the right 315, and if you're 340, you get to the right 330. They've done a very good job of that over the past.
Mike Fasusi is 295 right now, and I consider that perfect for an 18-year-old at 6'5" with his body mass, body weight composition. 295 is perfect for a senior 5-star tackle.
Roger G, going to go back to another one that you posted. How is receiver looking in the 2026 class? Could we expect a similar class to 2025? They've obviously got Chris Stewart. And I'm looking through some of the offer lists. They have got offers out all over the place to a lot of different types of prospects. Yeah. In state, you're looking at man, and some of these may be old. Peyton Porter, DeQuane Prevost, Mike Brown, Braden Robinson. Braden Robinson was there. Chris Stewart, and then Jordan Clay, Zion Robinson, Caden Finley, Jalen Lott. And then you go out of state. They have offers to 2 members of the modern day wide receiver core. They are looking everywhere because they know they can look everywhere for this position. Justin, the 5-star question is tough, but what do you see on that front?
I don't know if it's going to be a couple 5 stars like in 2020, in 2025. I don't know about that right now. In state, just like every other cycle in Texas, we're going to see some guys pop up, I think, more at the end of this season and more in January and February when junior days and the camp scene starts to happen and 7-on-7 season starts. Because in state, there's some really talented guys, but there's not that 5-star guy. There's not that gotta have type guy, that Evan Stewart, that DeCorian Moore, that just elite kind of guy. I don't think the state of Texas has that for 2026. They might for 2027. There's a couple of them there. But when you read that list, Joe, half of those guys aren't even talking to Texas anymore. Texas isn't pursuing. They're not pushing. Guys like DeQuayne Prevost. I think Braden Robinson is the take in the second tier, not in the first tier, but still a talented guy. He was on campus Saturday. So I think the class is going to be just fine, especially when you're following, Kalik Lockett, Dalen McCutcheon, Jamie French. But don't be surprised when they go out of state again for maybe that 5-star. I know Chris Henry is the one that's in their dreams each night when Sark lays his head on his pillow. When Chris Jackson goes to say his prayers, it's Chris Henry Jr. modern day. You got to get him. But I don't know if it's going to have the star power right now. But ask that question in, say, January and February. It's going to be a good class. Caden Finley is probably going to be a horn. Chris Stewart is probably going to be a horn. You want that one uber athletic alpha type guy. Not sure if that's been identified yet.
Charlie, anything on 2026 wideouts?
Look, I've gotten a chance to see a few of these kids up close and personal. Mike Brown. I've seen Caden Finley. I've seen Braden Robinson.
And you've seen Zion Robinson.
I've seen Zion Robinson. You're right. I saw him.
He had a big game.
He did have a big game.
They like Zion a lot. They don't love him. They like him a lot.
It's just all I see who's going to really separate themselves, and they have a whole nother year of school. So, I feel like it's like a mixed bag. You got a lot of talented kids, but you don't know which one's really going to stand up. Who do you really want? I think maybe Texas staff is kind of waiting for who separates themselves, and because a lot of these kids can do a lot of things, but none of them are Chris Henry, right?
Yeah.
At all, and so see how the season shapes out for Texas as far as 25, and then they can see what the 26 board looks like, and then build on that and see what they need. Because I feel like a lot of these guys can fit holes, but you just don't know what you actually need right now because all of them can do different things.
That's a great point. And Mike Brown is probably the most underrated on that list. I feel like, and I know they do a great job at the School of Sports Science. I know they do a great job there. They got great coaches, a great quarterback there. I feel like if Mike Brown was at a Duncanville or a DeSoto, you would know his name more. Yeah. I'm not saying he would be better. I'm not saying they would train him better. I'm telling you.
He doesn't have to go up 45. He can just go to a Atascocita or
yes, I feel like that. I think it's not that he would be a better player. I think he would have more exposure. I think more people would talk about him. Mike Brown is like crazy underrated.
He is.
Like this from Tub in Texas. Any surprises up your sleeve for the 2025 class? Look, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Tub in Texas, but we have written a lot about flip candidates over on Inside Texas for the past few months. And that's all they are. They're candidates. They're not likely flips. They're not going to happen, guys. But a lot of the remaining spots for the Longhorns are kind of being reserved for guys who are committed to other schools and who Texas continues to try to work on. Justin, one of the big ones, maybe he counts as a flip candidate still, was committed to Florida, was on the 40 acres this past weekend at defensive line, and that's Joseph Mbachu. And I don't think that's a surprise, but at the same time, like that is someone who Texas is working very hard on to complete a sturdy 2025 defensive tackle class.
Yeah, we know they want at least 2 more at that position. 3, if it's the right 3. They're going to really have to stockpile the D-line. And Joseph Mbachu, he comes off of his official visit to Texas and decommits from Florida now. I think some kind of assumed that was Texas was behind that. I don't think that was the case. I think Mbachu is such a good kid. He just went ahead and made the call to Coach Napier because he's going to take 6 more official visits over the next 7 weeks. Like Mbachu is actually going to go through the recruiting process now. He was a late riser. Texas always tries to identify those late senior guys with evaluations. And so he's not going to have a decision until December. The biggest thing with Mbachu is Georgia is not on that, wasn't on his list. And I got to tell you, talking to Jake Rouse last week, Joe and I thought Georgia was probably the team to beat in that recruitment. Of course, Georgia added a guy over the weekend. I think it was Elisha Griffin. And then,
he's good.
Yeah, he's really good. And they're probably going to add Justice Terry. And so those dogs are just going to get even dogger. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be there. But 2025, yes, You know, Eric had hinted all week about Dorian Brew. He never mentioned Brew, but a big 5-star kid that could come in.
Yeah.
That's one of those surprises up your sleeve. You know, we had heard actually a couple other names. We did a lot of back checking and making sure, and some of them were real and showed up, and some of them weren't. And so with Texas right now, they're cooking. They're cooking big time. And so don't be surprised if you see a few up their sleeve, but you're not going to be surprised at InsideTexas.com. That's why we give you those flip candidate articles. That's why we update you on the regular basis. Come see us. It really is the best time to hang out.
Hey, maybe during the bye week, thinking out loud, you're getting a little insight on the planning process. Maybe another percentages maybe do. Maybe.
When is the next bye week?
After Vandy.
Yeah, after Vandy.
So we have another bye after Vandy?
Mhm.
Buddy, I did not know that. Oh, that made my day.
Justin, to answer Justin, you kind of talked about how Justice Terry probably was.
Well, we don't know. We don't know that. I was having fun with that. We don't know that. Actually, Texas did a great job with him and his family. But what he watched was kind of what I think he wanted to see. And so I don't think George is just going to let him leave. Now, if Texas comes in with a big NIL offer and they know how important he is there, I think he could see himself at Texas. But after Saturday, I wouldn't pick against Georgia in that recruitment. Jonah Williams, do you see his pictures?
The baseball one?
Dude,
yeah.
Joe knows how I am when it comes to uniforms and hats and stuff like that. Jonah Williams looked like a superstar. Those were some of the coolest official visit pictures I've ever seen. Both ways, football and basketball. Yo! He had an opportunity. He could have done the Bo Jackson. And he wouldn't have had to do the Kyler Murray 3rd grade version of Bo Jackson. He could have done like the current version, the Bo Jackson, with the pads and the bat. Jonah, I like to text Jonah. He missed an opportunity there. He had a great time. I loved his tweet after the game. One loss does not make our season. He said our. Jonah Williams is in. He had a great time. Look, Jonah Williams is going to be an impact kid day one. And when you see a guy like Derek Williams go down for the year, and you see a guy like Andrew Makuba get dinged up, potentially miss a little bit of time, just understand Jonah Williams is worth it.
Yeah.
Charlie, I got one more for you, but I may put you on the spot just real quick. Did you hear anything else about Isaiah Gibson? He never ended up making it in, correct?
No.
I mean, Caleb
he did make it in. He did end up texting me back saying he wasn't able to make it. So yeah, I know he wanted to.
I know he wanted to recruit Justice Terry. I know that.
Yeah.
We know he wanted to. What colors he would have been wearing, not particularly clear.
I think the giveaway was every time he would text back to Charlie, it was bark, 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 bark. Like that to me was like a dead giveaway.
This is an interesting one. Artistically incredible. Appreciate it. Crazy question. It's not crazy, but if SMU makes the playoff, could they start challenging the Longhorns and Aggies for top recruits in Texas?
In DFW?
Yeah.
So I have an idea on this one. And I think there's one thing about making the playoff that needs to be understood. I don't think SMU plays Miami or Florida State. Like there's a weird situation.
You talking about this season?
Correct.
They beat Florida State 2 weeks ago.
Miami or Clemson.
Okay.
Right.
So there's a weird situation where if SMU is able to make the playoff, like, I mean, if they're so here are the challenging games for them that are still on their schedule. They still have to play. Oh, I don't want 2025. Come on. All right. They still have to play at Duke. They play Pitt at home.
Which is competitive.
They play Boston.
Isn't Pitt 6-1?
Pitt is, yes, they're 6-1. I was about to say good, but they're 6-1.
Yeah, that's different.
Pitt is playing offense, which is brand new. Play Boston College at home, at Virginia, and then Cal at home. So they avoid Miami. They avoid Clemson. I think Miami and Clemson also avoid each other. That's all to say, like, there's some weird tiebreaker stuff that could put them basically a win away from the playoff.
Yeah.
Do they start challenging the Longhorns and Aggies for top recruits in Texas? Probably not.
Yeah.
Do they start challenging the Longhorns and Aggies for top portal players who call their home DFW, yes, I feel like that is one, especially since we know if the SMU boosters are already paying their way into the ACC, literally, what's a quarterback? What's a wide receiver? You know, what's something like that, especially for someone like Rhett Lashley, who seems very, very happy at a Power 5 program in the middle of Dallas, or Power 4 program. So I'm curious what y'all think on this one. I don't think they start challenging. Do they make it more frisky? Probably. Do they make it more challenging for Texas and A&M? Probably not for guys they want out of high school, unless like playing 20 minutes from home is the deciding factor.
Right.
But I do wonder when it comes to portal guys, like who's a good. Let's say there's a Dallas version of Andrew Makuba. Nobody comes off the top of my head. Okay, I got it. Jalen Catalon.
Yeah.
When Jalen Catalon decided to transfer from Arkansas, SMU was not an ACC team. If SMU was an ACC team at the time he transferred from Arkansas, I don't know. There's a lot of ins and outs I don't know, but that probably is a lot harder for Texas.
I don't know if it's a lot harder, but it's another piece of the puzzle. It's another factor. It's another data point, because SMU is going to do well in DFW, and they do very well in the portal. I think they handle NIL very well. They don't overspend, and they spend smart and efficiently. And what Kevin Jennings has done there, my goodness, like I did not see that coming. I loved him at South Oak Cliff. I just did not know he was going to be that ready, that fast, that soon. Homeboy can go. I do think Joe has a point. I think in a portal battle, you could see some numbers go up. I don't think they're going to compete with Texas in the top portal guys, because you're cutting some serious checks there. Not to say Sherwood Blunt, Grave doesn't come up and they come.
There's a 30 for 30 about this.
Yeah, we could have a part 2. You never know. But the thing with SMU, the only time I could see SMU really challenging Texas and Texas A&M for in-state recruits, portal and high school, is if Rashad Samples came back to SMU, and then as in whatever role. To me, that's really the only card I think Lashley has. If you really want to compete, they're going to grab 2 or 3 guys that both teams kind of like each year. But really, the priority guys, I don't think they can do that year in, year out. I don't know if that's sustainable.
No. And Joe, something you said, it's a lot of kids who go off other places and then want to come back home. And if they're especially former Longhorn players, they tend to love a ton of ex-Longhorn players from Moochie, David Rivera, Chris Adamora. You got Billy Walton. Like they're the and I can't think of the offensive lineman name off the top of my head. He's rated really high right now.
Logan Parr. Yeah.
Logan Parr. So yeah, I mean,
he's in the game.
But he's from San Antonio, so that kind of explains the full appeal too.
Right.
They're good at NIL, man.
Yeah, and they've got a really good staff. Like Calvin Thibodeau recruited that place for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Simons is there. Derek King is their quarterbacks coach, which gives them a little
Alex
bit of
Brown is one of their recruiting staffers. Coach. No. He's at Ole Miss now. He's at Ole Miss now. I'm sorry, Alex.
John Bonney, former Horn, Red Raider. He came back to Texas after I think working under Craig Nivar at Coastal. Garin Justice, like that's a good staff, and that's a good head coach who understands offense and learned under he was under somebody was he under Richt for a little bit?
Who?
Rhett Lashley.
I thought he was at Auburn.
Under Gus.
He was under Gus. He was under Gus.
That's what it is. And so he gets how to do offense.
Gus is good on offense.
Kind of messed around at quarterback this year. This isn't the SMU show, but to go back to the question.
I got something for David Williams before we get out of here, too.
I was about to say, we'll call Billy Embody for a big SMU thing.
Absolutely. Well, I think you wearing an SMU hat kind of threw him off. And it's somewhere RMU.
It's from Colorado.
I know it was a joke.
let's bring it back to Texas just before we
Bring it
get back out of here, and we'll go
Yeah.
with David Keith Williams. Pettijohn, when was Mathis there? No, but Brew, all those
Wynn wasn't
guys
there
were
either.
Say again?
Kevin Wynn wasn't there either.
So Pettijohn and Brew were there.
He's wondering, water under the bridge at this point. Would it, what would the recruitments look like had Texas beat Georgia? No different.
Yeah, no different.
Not one thing would have changed. Not one single thing would look any different in any facet. Walter Mathis, don't mention him until he arrives at the airport in Austin. I promise you, there'll be somebody stalking him at midnight when he shows up Friday night. Don't mention him until he gets identified in the middle of the night at an airport. Kevin Wynn, that's a USC one right now, buddy. I talked to somebody earlier today. They felt good about USC last week. They feel even better about USC this week. Dorian Brew, hard read, very hard read. The fact that Texas is staying in and out of that one, I think, is important. So just kind of pump the brakes. And Riley Pettijohn, I'm gonna let Charlie finish it off with that because he has been tremendous in that recruitment. But just reading what Charlie and I had found out this weekend from the Pettijohns, win or lose, I think Texas, it didn't matter. I think Texas still looks great in a position if he does flip.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Pettijohn, the whole family came, even the two younger Pettijohns.
Those two younger ones,
absolute
campus,
ballers, right? Every single person of that family loved to visit. One thing that stood out, they didn't know Texas crowd got that loud. They didn't know the atmosphere was like that. Seeing it, that's why I said it didn't matter if win or loss.
Yes.
They enjoyed their time there. The atmosphere, everything else surrounding the game.
That's what matters.
Got them, right? And so, yeah, I think it moved the needle a little bit, right? They were still buzzing after the visit and after the game. Like, man, hey, Texas defense really got after it. Georgia defense got after it. Like, we just saw a top 5 matchup in a great atmosphere. Like, what else could you ask for? This is why you either come to either one of these schools, right? And so they love the visit. And mom especially loved it. If mom loves it, man, hey, it's always a win.
I had more kids talk about the Texas defense than anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about offensive kids too. They talked about the defense.
Yeah.
They didn't have to win it. Pettijohn, they liked it. You don't have to win these big games. You just have to show up and show out.
Wow.
I'm with that. And we make an attempt to do that literally every single day here on this channel. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also head to InsideTexas.com. At this point, go ahead and get over there. If you sign up, you will be able to get all the best recruiting scoops. Signing day is less than 2 months away.
Oh, God.
I knew that would get us.
We got a lot of prep ahead of us.
Hey, let's start knocking it out week by week.
Oh.
I got a reminder to call Brady Edmonds. So we'll get on that. Thank you for watching this episode of Recruiting Intel. Make sure you head to Game Time. Of course, terms apply, but $20 off your first purchase if you use the promo code on3. Justin, Charlie, thank y'all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.